31 years ago, I started playing a masochistic game, and I haven't been able to stop. It's probably not what you're thinking. In 1986, I submitted my first picture book manuscript to editors and agents and sent it out to these big publishing houses. It was called the Diffendaffer Taffy Cafe. I'd heard the name Diffendaffer when I worked at Boyd Lake State Park in the entrance station, and the alliteration had stuck in my brain, and I couldn't stop playing with it until I had this little story that I thought would make a good picture book. So I decided to research how to format a manuscript and how to submit it for consideration, which in 1986 meant going to the library and looking in books. And then I typed it up on my manual typewriter, and I put it in an envelope with my self-addressed stamped envelope, and I sent it off. And I allowed myself to hope, foolishly, because I'd been told many times how hard it was to get a book published and how I'd never make a living as a writer. But I wanted to have a book in the world because books had really touched me when I was a kid, and I wanted to sort of pay that forward. So I waited, and I waited, and I waited. The wheels of traditional publishing turned very slowly, so weeks went by, and then months went by, and then finally one day I came home from work, and my self-addressed stamped envelope was there in the mailbox waiting for me. And I'm usually a total instant gratification kind of person, but I made myself wait to open it because until I opened it, it was kind of Schrodinger's letter, and it still had the potential to be an acceptance. I waited about 3 minutes, and then I sliced it open, and I looked inside, and it was a rejection. And it was a nice rejection. I didn't know then that there are varying tiers of rejection letters. This was a good one. She didn't think it worked for her list, but she made some specific comments about things she liked in the manuscript and encouraged me to send it elsewhere. I didn't feel encouraged. I felt rejected, but I kept playing the game. I sent it out, and the form rejection letters started coming in, some of them on half sheets of paper, which really makes you feel worthwhile. And then in 1989, I got a very nice rejection letter that invited me to send something else if I had it, which I didn't. Because by 1989, I had moved on to graduate school, and most of my energy went into that. But I was never able to really give up the stories and the fiction. And so even in graduate school, I joined a critique group, and I went to conferences, and I workshopped various things. I started writing novels, and I submitted those, and I kept submitting this much revised and workshopped Diffendaffer Taffy Cafe. And then in 1998, 12 years after I first sent out my manuscript, I walked into the Barnes & Noble, and there was this huge display, front and center, dozens of books of Dr. Seuss's posthumous Hooray for the Diffendaffer Day. And I thought, well, that's it. No one is ever going to publish Diffendaffers now because it will look like I copied Dr. Seuss. So I wallowed in that for a few days. And then the silver lining that pulled me back into the game was, hey, my brain works like Dr. Seuss's brain. So maybe I have some potential after all. So fast forward a couple of decades. Through so many almosts with various editors and agents. One editor even had me go through 3 revisions on my novel before she turned it down. And I learned how to adapt to the electronic submission process. So now you submit stuff by email, and what that means with the speed of the internet is you still don't hear back for months and months, just like it was before. Or you get the boomerang rejection letter where it comes back in hours or even minutes, and you're sure they never even read the query. It speeds up the process, but it doesn't leave a lot of room for the hopeful part. I tried to quit. Honest, I did. But I can't give up the stories, and I can't give up playing the game. And it's stories that brought me into storytelling and brought me here. And this is such a great way to play the game of getting stories into the world. It's much better for the total instant gratification piece. It's really good. And honestly, it doesn't matter to me whose name comes out of the hat after a night here. I have the courage and the heart to go back out there and send my work out again. Because one day, I'm going to get a book in front of the right editor on the right day, and then I'll have another story to tell. Thanks for listening.